Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's. Looking at a Hyundai here. I'm not sure what model it is. It's a Tucson, 4-wheel drive, Tucson, whatever you like to call it. Okay, well I don't even know what engine this has got, but we'll check that in a minute. Engine management lights on, so it's just arrived here for me to look at. And it's got a persistent DPF issue. Right, so with this, it's been to a garage several times, he's telling me. Each time it leaves the garage, it gets no further than 2 miles and the light comes back on, so the error returns. Of course, he's been back several times, like he said, and they've changed parts, but there's no resolution, so I've not looked at the vehicle yet. Let's go straight in and see what we can find. Okay, we'll hit diagnostic. 16 pin automatically search. Oh, it's a 2 litre 2017. Let's do a high speed scan. This scan tool is the Launch Eurotab 3 from Launch UK. Okay, we've got 1 ABS fault, 1 ECM fault, battery voltage, P200300. Oh, I've not seen that code before. Yeah, it must be a rare code. I've not seen it before, and in the last 10 years I'm doing this, I don't think I've come across this code yet. Hyundai Tucson. DPF regeneration. See what comes up straight away there for it. What have we got? A discrepancy in the pressure limits. Okay, let's go to live data. A discrepancy in the live data limits. Let's have a look. Right, so I need to find differential pressure, if that's what it's called on this vehicle. Yep. On some cars you need to type in different wording, you know, different words. Let's put that over to millibars if we can. Yeah, so we've got minus 0.784. let's rev it up. (3,000 RPM). So either we've got a damaged DPF here or a dodgy sensor. Oh, now it's minus 5 millibars. Let's have a look at the exhaust tip. Okay, exhaust tips here. Yeah, DPF is damaged, I think. Just having a look at the back of the engine. We've got a pressure sensor here. Don't look like that was changed because it's old, but we can see we've got new. Is that a knock sensor? Yeah. Right. Okay, so engine off, we've got minus 9 millibars, so I think we've got a bit of both. I think there is some damage to the DPF, but we've also got a dodgy sensor, or it's not calibrated properly. So let's see if we can calibrate the sensor. ECU tuning data. Well, I don't want to do regeneration, but sometimes we have different options if we click in here. No, cancel that, we don't want to do that. Back. Let's have a look up here. So I've got regeneration, ABS bleeding. I can't see an option to calibrate the DPF pressure sensor. So I found the option. It's in essential work after. It's all, like I said before, it's all different wording, different brands use different wording. Differential pressure sensor, so we'll do that. We'll learn the values of that. Turn the ignition off for 20 seconds. Okay, so after calibration of the sensor, we've still got minus 9 millibars. Now, I know there's damage to the DPF, but this sensor is also not working correctly, so, you know, I don't know if it's worthwhile putting a sensor on. Is it worth putting a sensor on a DPF that you know is damaged? But, you know, depending on how sensitive the vehicle software is, it's possible that if you put a new sensor on this, it might you know, stop the light coming on, because if the pressure is reading, you know, in a close enough area, it might be okay. But that won't work on a Euro 6. Now I don't know if this is Euro 6. What year is this? I'll have to go back out and check. If it's Euro 6, well, a lot of Euro 6s have what's called a particle matter sensor, and that's there to detect any soot after the DPF. So if you've got soot after the DPF, the particle matter sensor will chuck up a warning. Whereas if you've got something that's just reading it from pressure, as long as the pressure is close, you know, close enough, it won't trigger a fault unless it's way off. Now obviously each different brand of car have different variations for how far off they can allow the reading to go. So, well, it's going to need a new DPF, but it's going to need a new DPF sensor anyway. So really, I suppose, it's not going to be waste by putting a sensor on there, because if we put a new sensor on now, and then at least when you put a new DPF on it, you know, it's got the new sensor as well as the new DPF, because you can't put a new DPF on with that sensor reading right there. -9 is incorrect. Okay, so we've had a look. I've called around every dealership. No one's got a DPF pressure sensor in stock. Now the only reason I would say to change the sensor first is if you change the DPF, what might have happened here is if someone's would change that DPF for him and not change the sensor, he's still going to have wrong readings, and that might be the cause why this original DPF has been damaged, because the sensor readings are way off. So it's not going to be actually telling the DPF when it needed to regen. Okay, so I'm going to try and calibrate it again. Turn the ignition off. We'll wait until that interior light goes off, and then we'll do it again. Okay, so that still hasn't worked, and I've tried another tool here just to confirm that the live data isn't incorrect on my launch. So it all matches up, everything. We've still got -5 on here. Okay, so I'm not sure what's going to happen from here with this vehicle right now. I mean, the guy's come from 150 miles away from me to diagnose this, so I've probably got a feeling that when he goes back home, he's going to have his mechanic probably do what I've advised there, is to first change that DPF sensor. Now, like I said, I know that is not a complete fix, but if we've got the DPF sensor working correctly, so basically what's going to happen is your pressure has got a leeway of around here. Say if your DPF pressure travels between here and here, yeah, you're not going to trigger off a fault. But if the pressure is too low and it drops outside these parameters to over here, it's going to trigger a fault. So it just depends on if you put a new DPF sensor in, and it will read sort of, even though the pressure is too low, as long as it's within the parameters, you know, the engine light will stay off. But ideally this is going to need a new DPF. Alright, that's it. I'm all finished on this. See you in the next video.